So today we're going to be doing website training. This is to supplement the videos that I already have on YouTube. You guys could watch those. They're a lot shorter format, but I thought that this was actually a really good thing. Missy kind of put this together, so she's the brain behind it. But we also thought that it would be good to kind of like just give an overview of what is new on the site, and then be able to give you guys access. If there's any troubleshooting that we need to do, then I'm here. So I could actually see what's happening and then be like, okay, I know how to tackle that on and make a note for myself later on how to fix it. Because if you guys are experiencing any issues, then most likely other admins will be having the exact same thing. So it's a good thing beneficial for you and for myself also to kind of witness that. Okay. What I wanted to start off with was kind of like some consistency. One of the main reasons that we decided to do this project in the first place was because beforehand, sports were each doing their own thing. That gave us the most flexibility, and I know that the lowest threshold that we could have for sports, because it's like, hey, we just go. Someone on our team already uses, GoDaddy. Someone already uses Wix. Someone uses over here, and that's they're going to run and take off with our sport specific website. And even though that is low drag for the sports, as an organization, there's no cohesiveness to our branding. There's no cohesiveness to the way that we administer our sites. And then everything's fragmented where each sport is doing their own thing. The biggest issue is when say you have some sort of helper and they're administering your website or administering your sports website. And then now we have a situation where that person leaves. It's still good terms, bad terms, doesn't matter, but they leave. And then following season comes along and we are saying, okay, who had the website? I don't remember. I think his name was so-and-so. And then now we're trying to track that person down. The season is starting and now our website is out of date or we don't even have access to it. Or another thing that was happening is that we're each registering our own domains beforehand. So we would have HSA basketball or HSA football or, something, not to point fingers at anybody, I'm just using that as an example, to say this domain has registered. That's the main one that we're using. And now the organization as HSA doesn't even have access to that domain. And if we were using that at one point, parents are going to that domain to try to find the updated stuff, but it's outdated or expired, and someone else has now acquired it. Now we're really fragmented all over the place. So I wanted to start off with kind of like making sure that we're all on the same page, knowing that there's organizational consistency and the benefits of it. Now, what that does is that it makes that threshold, that entry, where everyone has to learn the new platform and everyone has to abide by those rules. And even though that sometimes seems like a very strict kind of thing, I wanted to first start off with using two examples of professional websites out there so we can kind of see some consistency and see the benefit of why we should stick there. So I'm going to use the MLB and NFL as an example. So let's start off with the NFL. So when you go to their website, you're going to notice, I'm just going to point out several things on their sites just to kind of say, this is why we're doing this. Okay, so when you have articles, so if we go over to let's go to this community page and let's see some one of the articles that they have. So I'm just going to go down to this page. So this page, even though it has a lot of design, like these images here, they're on brand. Everything on their website is consistency. The font is consistent. The paragraphs are consistent. The design features that they use are all consistent. Now, each website editor that they have, and I'm pretty sure they have troves of them, they don't have full access way at the top where they can do whatever they want. Change this to a bright green, change this, to, Courier font, they can't do that. They have to fall within a very specific parameters as far as their editing goes. And if you kind of like look at some of their pages, you're going to start noticing that there's some consistency with their sub pages. If I go down to this page down here, let's look at this Inspire Change. There's going to be consistency on the way that they kind of design. Again, this is designed by a designer at the top. You can see that it's a graphic. But if we look at, let's go ahead and look at this page and this right here. and this looks rather simple. This right here is a very simple page. It has the footer at the bottom, but this content right here is, and we're talking about millions, if not billions of dollars that the NFL spends on their site and their promotions. And they have a very consistent appearance throughout their entire website. If you go all the way back to the homepage and say, if we look at, let's say the news articles would be good. Let's take a look at one of these articles here. Same thing. They have their single column, and then they have their consistency throughout the entire page. You'll notice one thing that I wanted to point out on this is that they don't have buttons floating all over the place, right? So they don't have buttons here. They don't have buttons out here. What they have, and what I would like for us to start doing on the site, is to have hot links like this. So if you say, well, how can I add a button to this page? Don't add a button, create the text, highlight it, and then add a link out to another page. And then that's going to give us our hot links like this. So I wanted to show that, or showcase that on there. If we go over to the MLB, same thing. So they have, let's go over to one of these pages here, maybe not the live one, because that's going to be even though there's consistency in the formatting. Let's go to the youth. And let's take a look at what they have on here. So if we go to this article right here, and we're going to look at 2 pages. Look at the consistency in these 2 pages. So we have the video. It follows the same format. One column on the left-hand side, other videos that are upcoming on the right-hand side, right? So we have that consistency there. If we go to the text more, without the video at the top, it follows this single column out here, and then the other related articles off to the right. And then their menu stays the same across the top, and then their placeholder area for their title, the person who wrote it, their share button is their single column out here of text. And you notice the same thing right here. They have those hot links presented on there, okay? So I just wanted to kind of like start off with that and say, look, we're a professional and a very large organization. We need to have consistency. When a parent comes over to our site, they can't click on one link and go to another one and then be presented with an entirely different website, because that little kind of like shock happens. Is like, am I still on the same page? It opened on a separate tab. I think it says HSA up here. I think we're good. And then they keep on digging in. But if they need to go back to the homepage, it's a whole different separate experience. Okay, so we need to have that consistency on our website. And I just wanted to start off with that. So let's go ahead and talk about access really quick. As far as the access goes, there's one thing that we also need to adapt into. It's that it's shared access. And I'll tell you the reason why. Shared access simply means that per sport, say we have football, there's a football account that has access to the page. And say from our commissioners, and this is something that I'm going to get to the responsibilities to here in a second, is you're being entrusted every season with granting or sharing that shared access to the people that you trust with it. So the commissioner should have it, your sports admin can have it, and then possibly maybe like an editor every now and then, right? So you share that access with them, they're able to gain access into the site and then be able to update, because, we're each sport, depending on how many you have, it gets kind of busy, right? So we have different people that are entrusted with it. But that means that one individual, instead of having Sally has an account, and then Billy has an account, and now we're trying to figure out who has access, it's one consistent account for the entire sport. And what ends up happening every season, what I would like to see is that as the commissioners, we change out the password, and then that account is now refreshed, still volleyball@hsa.org. It's still refreshed for the following season, and say, okay, the same people, say if I have my 3, my commissioner, the admin, and a volunteer, those 3 people get the updated password just for security reasons. One thing that the platform that we're on is that we pay for every single account that has access to it. So if we're paying $6 a month plus for everyone to have an account, but then those 3 people, we're looking at $18 already for just one sport, and they maybe access it, once every season, or maybe once or twice a month. It just doesn't justify that cost. That's another reason why we're doing that. Okay, so the editor, I'm about to show you how to log into the site and how to get in there. That's going to be the first big thing. If you don't have a shared account right now, say you used to have one, and then now we're moving into a shared access, don't worry, we'll be able to, hands-on time, I'll be able to show you, or set that account up sport specific and grant you access to that. The responsibility, just like I mentioned, is shared access. It's important to know that the responsibility that if that password gets out, it is a security risk. If you go and share that with too many people and now there's too many hands in the pot, and then it's like, who made the edit? We don't know, but they did something big on the site or something inappropriate, and we need to kind of figure that out. Okay, so make sure that whoever we're sharing access to is a responsible person and a person that we could always just trust and entrust with accessing and editing the website. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just see how we actually edit the site. So these are done. I'm going to close these out real quick. Okay, so when you go over to hsa.org, one of the Bonnie, yes, submit. There we go. Bonnie should be back in. All right. So when you go on there, you just go to the main site, hsa.org, and the easiest way to do it is just go all the way down to the bottom and just click on that website admin right here on that first column. So you miss this, that first column right here, website admin. What that does is that it adds this little banner across the bottom. Now, I was already logged in, so let me log out so I can demonstrate how that appears to y'all when you go in. All right, so one more time, website admin. This little banner at the bottom comes up, okay? So my account's memorized in there. No one else uses this computer. I like to save my passwords on there and then log in. That's what you see across the bottom. Then you actually have access to access your editing capabilities on the site itself, okay? So let's go ahead and look at just three basic things that we're looking at: headings, paragraphs, and links, because the rest of the design of the site is consistent and you guys just have that ability to go in there and edit these three things. I'm going to show you the way that we did them and then sport specific how you edit some of those pages here in a second. So let's pretend that we're navigating across the site. I'm going to go back to the live site so I can navigate the site as I'm jumping to a page, because if I'm in the editor, it thinks that I want to edit this link. It thinks that I want to edit this text, and I don't want that. So I went back to the live site, and I'm going to navigate to a page that I actually want to edit. So I'm gonna go to the statement of faith. Let's say the board just got together and we added a new statement on here. Now I'm on the page that I want to edit. On the bottom right, I'm gonna go to edit the site. And here's what we have. You know that this little pencil up here, I'm going to edit that. And this right here becomes this block of text that's in the middle of the page, practically becomes my quote unquote word editor, right? So if I start adding some text down here, then I'm able to add that text up there. So we're not going to publish these changes, but I'm going to go ahead and add a new heading on here. Yes. Yes, everyone does, and then we're able to see who makes those changes. Okay, so right now, again, going back to responsibility, the question was, do all editors have access to, say, the statement of faith? Yes. Now, if you want to, and I'm pretty sure that we can change this, where I can actually lock this up so not everybody has access to it. Okay, so again, the responsibility is you share that with somebody, make sure that they're a trustworthy individual, that they technically can get in here and make these changes, okay? So this is a new statement. Let me make sure that I'm in there. One has dropped out. Okay, so I've just added some text. Again, this isn't live, but if I highlight that text now, I can add the header to it. We don't have access to make this a bright green. We don't have access to change the format. And the reason why is because, again, consistency. So I'm going to make this an H2, or I could change to an H3, an H4, and so forth. Every page should only have one H1. So even though I can technically put that on there and make this a heading 1, the requirement for Google and for anyone who crawls our website when they're kind of indexing the pages, H1 should only happen once a page. So let's just kind of get that mentality where we only have one H1. You could have multiple H2s and H3s and so forth, but you get to see that I'm actually editing changes, making some changes on the site. and I'm able to add some basic text. So I can add a heading, the ones that we just saw. I could add some paragraphs, or let's look at how we add a link on there. So I'm gonna click back on here, and please follow this link. And once I do that, I could say, for example, these are our hot links that we just saw on the page. I could just click on this little link right here. And I can say, I can go to the little gear and, well, let me look at this real quick. So it's a link. I can say link type. It's a link, say if we want to send them to Sports Engine, or we want to send them to our shop, which is an external service that we use, or hometown ticketing, whatever you like, you could send it out here. But I'm just going to want a link. And for now, I'm just going to put it on google.com. You know, it's not necessarily what we want to do, but just for the example. And then you'll see that this is now a hot link that I've created the same way that NFL and the MLB just had a few seconds ago. Now we know how to add links on there. Okay, so basic editor things on there. All right, so far we've done the headings, the paragraphs, and the links. Let's go ahead and look at what rich content does for us. So far what we've done doesn't cover being able to add images, being able to add video, a custom code, because that comes in handy every now and then, or embed rich content, or code block, which we actually don't use. We could use it if you have some sort of code that you need to share with your team. Bulleted lists, which we could definitely use, or numbered lists, which are also called unordered lists or ordered lists. Let's go ahead and look at how we add all of these, okay? And remember, just it's being recorded. And also there's videos on YouTube, the HSA Webmaster YouTube video that you can actually get on there and see these broken down per. Okay, so let's say that on here, I'm just going to hit return. I'm still in the editor, and you'll notice where my cursor is at, there's a little plus sign. So I'm going to click on that plus sign, and I want to add a picture. So the first little icon, I know that it's small on y'all's screen, but there's a small little picture that I can click on. And let's say, I know what this one is. There's nothing bad on here. So we could look at Ben Online, and we're going to just insert this image. All I've done is I just clicked on the little plus sign. The first icon is the picture. I've added a picture on there. Imagine this is kind of like a team's picture, a coach picture, you know, just an event. It could be whatever you want. And when you add the picture, there's two things that appear. A little caption at the bottom, which comes in really handy. And then you have the type of image that you want. And it's good to just kind of sometimes just click around and explore, see what happens. This one's going to make it a full screen, which, you know, takes the advantage of the full column that we have on there. Or if we had some text, it would float off to the right. The text would be on this side. Or if we have some other content, there's no text that's next to this picture right now. That's why it's not moving over. But we could do this. And if there was text around here, then it would appear on the left-hand side. I would recommend in the most cases to use it full width like this, because it displays the picture rather nicely, especially if it's a team picture. Go ahead.
One of the options with the 2 pages photos, like we would just have a photo gallery,
Yes.
that would be best to use push
This-
photos, or should we like have multiple?
This would be good for that. And it's say like if you have hundreds of pictures, then maybe what I can do is I can create a photo gallery for y'all. And then that way it'll be a lot easier. Maybe you could just upload, batch upload a whole bunch, and instead of doing them one by one like this. But if you have some key pictures that you want to include on there, then I would do it like this, okay? And then the question again, if you couldn't hear it, was should we use this option here to add photos, or if we have a photo gallery, is this the method that we want? You know, so we'll circle back to that, and I'll maybe on practice when we break off, then we'll do that, okay? All right, so say the changes that we've made, we don't want to keep. So I want to go ahead and start removing some of this information on here. I don't want the picture, and I don't want this. I'm literally just highlighting the text. And just because of the space that I have here, I'm going to remove this up there. So now it's back. Now we're not quite done. So on here, we also had adding video. What if one of your volunteers recorded a video, it's on Facebook or it's on YouTube, but you want to embed it onto the page? So same thing. So you have the plus sign, and then you have the video here. And then all you have to do is paste the video on there. If I go over to YouTube and then do add HSA Webmaster, And here's some of the videos that I've created. Most likely, we're gonna have an ad that pops up. Copy this, get out of there. And I'm going to paste that URL that I just pulled up. So now I'm going to hit that plus sign or that check mark. And now the video that I created is actually on here. Even though it exists on YouTube, I'm able to embed it. You'll notice that I could do full screen just like I did the previous clip that I just had the image. Okay. So again, it's pretty nice to be able to add that. I remove it. The next thing we can do is embed custom code. You may wonder, it's like, when is this? Yes, sir. So anything, it's not necessarily the format. The question was which video format is, allowed. So source, so you can say anything that exists online. So the main ones you're going to be looking for are YouTube links and Vimeo links. The reason why is those platforms host the video for you and they allow that type of link. If you posted it, say you upload it to Google Drive or you upload it to Dropbox nor Google Drive allow that playback because it's not a player, it's a link to a file. So it's not going to play back the video from that particular link. Because a share link is different from an embed link. Okay, like that. So I would say YouTube, stick to Vimeo is a good alternative. If the service exists out there, then you can most likely post it out there as long as it's a player. Okay, good question. So let's go ahead and add some custom. Oh, let's look. If someone could be checking the chat as well, that would be good. What about your own video? So let's take that question. Thank you, Lydia, for that. So what if you have a video that you have created yourself and you have it, like say you have it on your phone. You recorded a video and the format is the format that we need, right? Which is, let's say MP4 would be the best one. And you want to upload that video. Technically, you can. I would recommend for us not to, and I'll tell you why. Because that video, the bandwidth that we have every month, if you upload a video first, it's going to cost you some time to upload that video to our server, right? And then when we play that video, whoever plays it back within their browser, it's actually charging our server. And I'm saying our server as in AWS. So this is Amazon, but it's costing us bandwidth to play back that video one time, 100 times, 1,000 times. So we do have bandwidth that we need to stay within. And even though it's generous, no one recommends having a video that you want to embed directly into your site, upload into your own server, and then play it back because it runs the risk of running a lot of bandwidth up. Instead, say, Lydia, if you have a video that you like, upload it to one of these services, YouTube or Vimeo, and then link to it just like we did from there. And the bandwidth is actually coming from Vimeo or from YouTube, and it's not costing us anything extra. Okay, so very good question. All right, so let's go ahead and what looks sorry. Let's go look at embedding custom code. You may see, I'm going to go back to the live site. I'm going to show something like the football has done. Okay, so on football, you'll notice that there's and I have Facebook blocked on my browser. So sometimes some of these things, like say, for example, this form right here, that's an embedded form. Okay, sometimes if we were to look at, because I know that they have done quite a bit. Say I need to move from, I'll have to show you on a different browser. But let's take a look at just this form. Say you have some sort of like mailing list that you've done. And whatever service that's external says, hey, you could embed this form onto your website. You just have to copy this little snippet of code. And I will show you what that looks like. So if I could do it from here. If I go back into edit, and if you're familiar with this, then you'll say use an external service of whatever, then you could go in here and add this. So let me go see if I could find that form really quick. And it is. There it is. Okay, now this looks scary. right here, if you're not a programmer or coder. But, and if you have some experience in it, then you can say it's like, hey, that's what that kind of tag that it is. But this code would come from an external source, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, be it Instagram, whatever you want. You can embed these articles or these posts onto your website. We do want to be careful with what we embed because sometimes it just looks like overkill. There's flashing lights over here, there's videos autoplay over here, and we're talking about consistency. That was our first kind of topic. You want to make sure that you're not going over the top with these things that you're adding to the site. But this is just something that you can actually embed onto there. So if we go back to our page, go back to the live site. Wait for the edit button to show up. If you have something that you would like to add on there and you've talked to your commissioner, you've talked to your admin and they think it's cool, then all you have to do is, again, go to that little plus sign and it's the very next code over that. This is where you'll paste your custom code on there, okay? And again, if you need help with that, there is a YouTube video that walks you through with that. Save and close. You'll notice that nothing popped up for that because I didn't add any code. Next thing, in embedding rich content, we don't typically use this, but it's pretty much the same format. Like if you wanted to embed like a tweet or something to that effect, you're sometimes given a link that you can actually post on there and do the same thing. And it works just the same way as the other one. So go on there, click on the little plus sign, and I'm able to add rich media on there. So it has for the little icon, that's like a little music or kind of like a little play button. If you have something from SoundCloud that you might have for some reason you wanted to embed it in here, then that would work in that case there. Okay. Code block editor, I'm going to demonstrate this just for our purposes here, which is the very next one. If I wanted to embed some code on here, this is more for like a display. And I save and close that. This is what that looks like. 99.9% of the time, we don't need it for the HSA. Okay, so that right there, we wouldn't want to have for ourselves, or at least not for this site. I don't see an applicable thing that would work for. Bulleted lists and numbered lists, yes. So let's add one of those really quick. So ordered list simply is, or unordered list simply is when you have the bullet points, say item 1, item 2, and so forth. You hit return twice, it gets you out of it. And then the ordered list is the numbers. So item, main item, so forth. You hit twice, just like on a regular word editor, it escapes you out once you have that, you hit return twice. And you could just remove that from there. Right, I'll take any questions here. Is there anything specific? Is that pretty straightforward so far, what do we have? Yes, okay, very good. Collections, this is our bread and butter. If you're following along, then this is the biggest thing that we have, okay? Because collections is, though we have the text editor that we just saw, it's not just limited to that. And let me kind of like show you what the reason why we even have collections. Let's go over to the contacts page. No, let's go. Yes. Yes, and that's actually, let's check this out. Look. What is a collection? Okay, so perfect. Yes. Try not to steal my thunder so much though. Let's go over to let's see coaches for basketball. Okay. All right. So we have the coaches here. And this right here, this you would not create this with a text editor, even a rich text editor, because if you change one of the coaches' name from here, how are you going to make the exact same change to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, right? So it's too much. So a collection, let's go ahead and define it. A collection is a form of like a database. Imagine a spreadsheet that has a column for your coach name a column for your coach picture, their title, their email, and so forth, right? And it could have more. So say like, I think all these coaches, which is great about basketball because they're on the line, let's give them some kudos. They have their profiles as well, okay? So imagine if you're in here and you have, you're trying to edit this one by one. It would be a nightmare. It would be a nightmare for me if I had to do that for every single coach. Someone caught a mistake or the code was broken, and now I have to go and change for the number of coaches that we have, possibly hundreds of times that same little edit over and over and over again on each individual page. And we don't want that. So a collection, again, is a database that contains all your information, and then it displays it in a consistent format across our website, depending on what we want, what collection we're working on. So let's go ahead and edit the site, and we're going to go over to the collection, or one of the collections that we have here. So let's go over to collections. You'll notice that on here, you're going to have, for me, it's social media buttons because I recently used it, ultimate frisbees, which I was just on there a little bit ago, and then the meets. So when you come up to the page on the bottom left, you're going to have, and once you're logged in, you'll have pages, collections, and forms. That's like the default menu that you have. And collections, again, is your bread and butter. So on here, these are all the collections that I have created. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you if you ever have like a feature request, I would most likely create it as a collection, and then you're able to add items to it. Let's go ahead and look at our coaches collection. So I just found coaches down the list, and I found coaches on there. And then we have several that are published and some that are archived. Yeah, I don't remember the coach we were just on, but let's go ahead and look at Derek. So I'm going to click on Derek, and here's one of our basketball coaches. And here's what we're going to talk about. So we know what a collection is now. And let's start off with categories. Okay, the categories is the most important thing that we can do. So let's say basketball wants to create a new item. That basketball is a drop-down category that we have created. So when we have coaches, because we won't have one collection, and we only want like a filter, the categories is a filter. I only want to display the basketball coaches on this page that I created for basketball, right? So the category is the way that the system knows this is the filter that you're applying. Okay, so that's the category. And if you notice at the bottom, it says, so there's two ways, because I have adapted this along the method. So if you have a sport, and I'll show you why this has two options here. If you have a sport, you would think, okay, I need to select basketball, which is true. But sometimes, let's pretend that Coach Derek here is actually not only a basketball coach, but he's also one of the commissioners. Well, now we have a situation where he should be on two lists, but I only have one dropdown and I could only select one. So I modified that down the road, and I said, well, we actually need a multi-reference category, which I could say basketball. And if I click on this, I could select other ones, and it just pops up right here as different things that he can be applied to the category, the filter. Okay, so the most important part is first working with the categories. What if you say, Luis, could I go ahead and add a category because I have, let me try to give a good example of this. We have a new sport that comes up, and we're doing now swimming. Well, right now, there is no swim. It might be on here, but there is no swimming category because it's a brand new sport that we introduced this year. I could actually just create the category and say, okay, this is going to be swimming. And now I'm going to be able to select that from that drop down that I just showed you a little bit ago. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this, but these are all editable, or you can add to it if you decide to have a category for yourself. I would just like to be told, if it doesn't hurt anything, it's not gonna, there's not a list in the background that's creating with all these categories that we have, but we do have it here. Okay, so you could technically add your own category. You'll notice that the recent ones that I've been using are up here at the top. So I'm actually gonna go right back to coaches and go back to Coach Derek there and see how this works. Okay, so on there, let's go ahead and go a little bit deeper with, I know that I have this kind of broken down a little bit more, but all these work the exact same way. The news, the coaches, the categories that I just showed. All of these are collections. Your sponsors are a collection. Your registration buttons are a collection. Your attorneys, if you have a tournament and you wanted to appear on that tournaments page, it's a collection. So right now, just by those two broad categories, the rich content and the collections, we've covered 99% of the site that quick. Okay, but let's actually see, how we actually break one of these down. So one of these, we're just picking on Coach Derek. We want a name that's going to be the title for the person. And these collections, they're going to have different fields depending on what you're actually working on. So I have the custom fields. He's going to be the 10U's boy coach. And then email, if you wanted to provide it, a little icon appears, and then you could actually click on that. So you don't have to program that. If you add it, it's actually on there already. The phone number, the same thing. If you want to add the phone number, if you want to put that information out there publicly, then that could also be that little phone icon appears next to their name, their picture. One word on pictures real quick. You'll notice that when we're on this live site, we have the pictures in not in this case. So if we go back to one page, this page right here, when they're listed, you have a small profile picture. If you add a picture that is taller, so like a portrait style picture, it's going to stretch this oval out. Okay, your picture is going to look a little wonky. Okay, so it's good to understand that in order for them to display as beautifully as these have been displayed for basketball, make sure that your picture that you're uploading for the profile is a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning a square. Okay, so that's important. There's another picture that comes up later down on that same form that you're completing. Let's go back to the coaches. I forgot which one I was on. So let's go ahead and go back to Coach Derek here. So he has a photo. You'll see that this one's the square one. It's a small profile photo on there, but then he also has this larger photo on here as well. So that could be a different shape. It could be landscape, portrait. It's going to make it fall within that first column that we have on there. And then all of these are really self-explanatory. Like if I want to add a rank, well, minus rank. Let's say, for example, if we go back to the site, these right now are going to be listed by alphabetical order, either A to Z or Z to A, okay, by default. Okay, if I want to say, well, I don't want, varsity boys up here, I want the commissioner to be listed first, then I would add rank to that individual. Okay, so you'll just put a number from 1 to 99999, and then the higher the number, the more dominance it has. Okay, these are just by alphabetical, so those don't really matter. Now you could mix and match. So say like I only care for this commissioner or this coach to be listed first. Just add any number on there, and he or she's going to be listed first. The rest of them will fall back into line with alphabetical order. Okay, all right. So going back to the coaches, back to Derek. For example, then you'll notice the category. Again, we could add some more multi-reference category, the rank that we just talked about, the biography. This area, you can just add the content just like you normally would. There's the picture, and then the save button. If I had made changes, or if I had to say while I'm in the coaches collection, I could just add entirely new coach on there and add the pictures and just complete this form. If you just get used to editing your collections with that right there, again, 99% of the website is covered with, I edit collections. That's what I do. I need a new coach, collection. I need a new news item. It's a collection. That it's super simple from there. Okay. So I'm gonna cancel this. Let's go look at the news real quick because it's the exact same setup. So all these are news items. These are filtered out either on the home page where the news page is at. That's just everybody's just cascading. The most recent is at the top. And then sports specific, if a sport has their own news tab, then these fall under that category for that particular sport. Okay, and again, it's the exact same thing. Smaller form for this because it just has an item, the name, or what it's going to be called. You may say, what's a slug? A slug is the URL, and you don't have to edit that. You have ability to, but if I say new item, then that automatically is created for me on there. The slug is auto-generated. What it is, and then the category that I can pick down here. Okay, so the multi-reference on there as well. Okay. Discard changes, don't need it. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, these are you go to each sports specific page, they have kind of a header with different options.
Yes.
That's what these are. Kind of.
No. So let's look at what you're talking about. Yes. So, but I'll tell you, so I'm going to use your question as the example, make sure that the people on here are it's so funny because you're stealing the thunder again, because I said, what's new, right? But let me first tell you what the question was, or for those joining up here. These tabs up here used to be, and they currently are for the majority of the sports, when we're changing it, used to be, you have to let me know that you need a new tab. Now, those are flexible. So say like soccer needs 5 of them, but basketball needs 8 of them, then they were flexible. You can ask me, hey, can you add a new page? But it has been cumbersome for the sports to have to go through Louise to kind of get a new page or a new tab. From before, we used to be able to create whatever we wanted. And even though I love Sports Engine for the registration portion of it, their site was like, even for a developer side, it was really locked up. I couldn't do too much. Okay, so now we have a little bit more flexibility, at least from my end, but the editors are now a lot more limited for the consistency thing, right? So before, you used to have to add, request a new tab and a new item up here for you to be able to create your page, right? But let me show you what's new is that now you don't have to do that. So now you have sports specific collections. Okay. Now this isn't across the board just yet. Okay. So it's getting there. So I'll show you what that looks like right now for a sport that has actually migrated over to the new page setup. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at another collection called Ultimate Frisbee. Right. So for Ultimate Frisbee right now, newer sport, they're able to go in and add their own page based off of a collection. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the collections, and I'm going to go to Ultimate Frisbee. Spots it first. Here it is. And now these are actually pages that they have, and they're able to add more as needed. Yes, question.
When are we on that? Is
It-
that struggle with us?
Right, the creating your own pages, right? So what that's going to happen, I could prioritize, like, say, like if you say I needed like ASAP, then I'll work on your sport next. I know that the floodgate can open up and say everyone needs their sports done right away, but it is tedious first for me to set it up. It's quite a bit, but I can focus on, say, getting your sport migrated over to this new setup. So that way you don't have to go in and create it by yourself, one page or request to add a new page. So I'll prioritize that and try to get you migrated over as soon as possible. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and look at what Ultimate Frisbee looks like right now. Before we dive into this, you do have a limited space on there, right? So we don't also want 100 pages on there because it's going to break the design. You'll have to prioritize and say, I want 5 or 8, and then max it out at that. If you're on a really wide screen, for you, it may look pretty good, but someone on a smaller screen, so say like on a smaller screen like my laptop, it's going to create a second row. And is that really going to hurt anybody? No, but it's just going to present it a little sloppy. And I think it's just prioritized over the pages that you have. So as long as we're on the same page on that, yes. Okay, so on this one, their pages are actually a collection and they follow the exact same design. And what's neat about this is they have all these pages, there's a page type that dictates what editing capabilities or what is displayed on that page itself. Okay, let me make sure that I'm getting on there. No, I'm jumping ahead on there. Okay, so let me go ahead and kind of like walk you through this again. It's a collection, and you're just creating the title that you give it here is going to be the title that's at the top, the button. It's going to be the same title that's across the banner, and then there's a specific video, and this is a long format video that I created for this collection, and I'll break it down into sections from there, so you know where if you just wanted to learn one little thing on it. So there's main content. And then there's a category. And let me show you one other thing. Let me show you who did I change over recently? I think it was basketball. So even basketball has so now basketball has an additional feature, and this is what I'm gonna base everybody off of, getting that new page layout for your sport as well. You have the main content, and then you have lower content. For them, and I thought this was a neat thing to, a neat feature to include for everybody as we kind of like build that out, is that sometimes you need content at the top, and sometimes you need buttons on there and then a little bit more content. So this is giving you two sections to be able to add content, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. But this gives you two areas that you can add some content to your pages, and then also PageRank, and then links that you have on there that also come up, and then file types, because you have three, and I know that I'm covering this rather quick. You have 3 link buttons that you can do per page, and 3 file types that you can, so say like if you need to feature a file, like I need you to download this waiver or download this permission slip that you need to play at this certain field or something like that, then you can add those on there. And if you need more than 3, then just let me know and we could see what we can do from there. But I thought 3 was a generous start to start off with.
This necessity to edit on the page to become such a, that would be your main way of editing your pages. You'll come to your collections,
Here.
keep your content current, that way you can have everybody's content displayed, going back to the whole consistency of brand thing.
Yes.
You can institute further control over everyone's pages. I would imagine that in order to get this done, everyone has to come to you with, here's the number of pages, here's the stuff that we need to have on, whether it's a photo gallery or carousel, placeholder for a video, whatever, if you design that, again, it will just come up, but this is a much better presentation.
Right. Right. And then, and yes, and then that's where that making the request before, I'll show you what I mean by this particular slide. But yes, you're spot on. So now you have the ability to, even within these the editor in here, that you can actually create more content, rich content within that area. And now you're not having, even though you technically can go to this page and edit it from the viewer side instead of the collection, I still think it's a cleaner experience to come to the collection and edit it from there.
1000%.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's move on from there. Yes, question. Okay.
It's like,
So if I'm just making sure I'm understanding correctly. So once each sport is on the,
On the new feature, yeah, new layout, yeah.
each collection we add under our sport, those will be the tabs across the top menu.
Not each collection. You'll have, say, what sport are you for?
Oh,
Okay, so let's say volleyball, right? You're not adding a collection. Volleyball will be a collection.
Okay.
You're adding an item, and each item that you add is gonna be that tab. Okay.
There's like coaches collection,
Yes,
but then under the basketball collection, there's also a coach's item, but that was in.
yes. So let me kind of like show you how that works, okay? So, and I'm gonna, let me kind of just explain it up here, okay? So the question was again, if I'm just gonna rephrase it a little bit, I'm getting a little confused because you say you have a volleyball collection, but then also have a coach's collection, right? 2 separate things. Question? Yeah.
You're gonna invoke a collection within a collection. So if
Yes,
you've got a coach's page,
yes,
there'll be an object on there that says, by the way, if you populate the coaches for this coach's page, that's another collection. That's where you have already used your bios. all that
Yes.
kind of stuff.
yes,
So they can be nested like that.
they're nested. Yes. Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yes, so,
you're
I like
highlighting-
to get in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna be your sports collection, so you get a parent. And then underneath it, you have all of these sub collections that would populate certain things.
So these called items.
yes, and but let me kind of explain it again, okay? So, but that's really good. That's essentially what I'm talking about. So you have your volleyball collection, right? You've added a new item, and that item happens to be a page. There's a drop down there that says, I want this to be a coach's page. And when you create that and publish it, you say, oh, it doesn't have any coaches on there. What did I do? That's fine. You created exactly what you needed to do. But when you create that page, it's gonna say no items. So now again, just rephrase it. Volleyball collection, a page item that it happens to be the category of coaches, right? Or the type. of coaches. And now you're going to go over to the coaches collection and you're going to add a new coach and you're going to categorize that as a volleyball coach. And as soon as you add that on that collection, it auto populates back to that first one. Yeah, essentially, yes, that's exactly right. Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and say, you need to make a feature request. And we're like super close to the end, by the way. And there you go. So we have a feature request. You have an idea and say, look, could we make this into a collection? Because I find myself repeating over and over again. Let's kind of just like grasping for something. Let's say that you have a stats page that you want to create. I know that stats are handled from the Sports Engine side. We embed them into the site, but let's just pretend that we're going to make our a list of athletes that actually a really good one would be for the banquet. And we have the elected sports all-stars of some sort, right? And we have a list and say, look, Luis, I need to create a box with the name, and their award and maybe their picture. But I can't do that because I don't have access to it as an editor. What can we do? It's like, hey, that's a really good collection to create. And now I'm going to have a All-Stars collection. And that All-Stars collection on the page is going to display a box that has the athlete's picture, their full name, and the award that they won, right? And now all of a sudden you add 20 of them, you categorize them for volleyball, and then now you have your award winners very nicely and consistently presented on the site. So you have an idea, right? And you want to make a request for that collection to be added to the site. The questions I'm going to ask you are, how would this feature benefit HSA Sports? You're going to say, hey, we got awards for volleyball, soccer, we have basketball, everyone will benefit from this. I'm like, okay, that's true. How does this feature apply to more than one sport? Does it? Yes, it does, because we all have awards that we want to give to. And finally, what advantage does this new feature have for the athletes? Not only is it saving me time, because I don't want to create this over and over again, but it's going to be like something that they can go and share with potential recruiters that they're listed on the site as award winner for so and so, so and so. You see, so this feature request that you can come up to me at any point and say, can we make this into a collection, and can you design it for us? So then now all the sports are benefiting from that particular collection that you just created, that requested. So that is definitely something that we can add under this collections list for us to be able to do that. Okay.
How do we know which collections are available? I mean, I see the list there, but how
Yes.
do I know what that's gonna look like if I embed that into?
So for example, that's a really good question. So let me go back to the life site, and I'm going to kind of like approach it in this way. The question was like, how do I know? How do I know what's available? And how do I know, that it's already created instead of me having to request it again, right? So one thing that is like when you click on the coach's name right here, way at the top, there's a little subfolder right here. It's like the hsa.org/coaches. That's one way to know that this is a collection, because it looks like a subfolder. That would be one way. Two, you could look at the list of collections that we have and say, oh, what's this awards collection? And what does that look like? And then you can go in there and say, oh, it's for something that works for me. I want to enable and use that. That's another way. Another way that you can know is simply just by asking. Let's say like, hey, Luis, do we have anything that works like this? It could be a text, email, and then you just kind of like reach out and say, do we have something that works like this already? And then I can go back and check or say yes or no, or we can make that a feature request on them. Okay, so there would be several different ways. But once you know what your pages are and how they're laid out, you're going to say this collection is this particular one. And most of them are like self-explanatory, like the coaches one, the news tab has one, the sponsors tab is a collection itself. So there's no like easy way other than saying, I'm going to the collections tab at the bottom when I'm in the editor, and I'm just going to look at what these are, what they say. And then maybe what I can do is I can add a little field on there that's just like text only that describes the collection for you. So that may be something that's like, hey, what does this one do? And I could kind of give you an idea of what that looks like
We've got a question.
on the chat.
Would an ag schedule be considered a collection, for example, soccer, yeah, so that's our page.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about how we got the sports schedule on there? That's just an iframe of their website.
It is.
Let's talk about. Do we make that, the sports engine gonna be the scheduling, the factor, the engine behind everybody?
Yes,
So then we need a collection for everyone's page that pulls the schedule, of sports engine that already has the iframe. On it.
Right. And that's the part that I'm handling for you. Because the schedule page is going to have an iframe that is in there that I pull from the sports tab, the sports season management tab from Sports Engine. So you could easily do it if you had access to that feature, but I would do it for you on that, so I can just drop it in there. It'll be your current season. Yeah, I could see that this one's, you said that this right here is embedded?
The top, that's the practice page.
Okay, they're talking about the
For a second.
teams right here.
It's the tab that says Teams.
Yeah, right here.
Here's where
Yes.
Then
Thank you, Lydia. Yeah, so this right here, this formatting that's coming in from here is all from Sports Engine side. So even this little border that I can't remove, or the fact that it's, that I have to scroll within the page itself, that is coming from Sports Engine. If Sports Engine offered a cleaner way to present this, like without the border, or that it would respond to the size of this table that's inside of it, that would be neat, but that's a current limitation of what they offer within their iframe.
We was talking about, we have a little bit of other options besides Sports Engine.
So we have looked at other like registration platforms, because the website that we have isn't the method that we register people, so I have looked long and hard at other platforms like for registration purposes. And as far as the features and the size of it and the fact that it could handle what we need, I told the board early on, is like, there's no way that we can get as good of a deal as we do with Sports Engine with any other platform. And that's for like registration, team management. So we're not interested in any way looking at that. On top of that, what we pay for Sports Engine is minuscule compared to what other platforms cost. And we're talking about thousands of dollars a month just for the same thing that Sports Engine already does. So Sports Engine from the get-go, I said, there's no way that we can replace this without an enormous expenditure. But Sports Engine is definitely staying. We've looked at other platforms. This is the platform that I would recommend that we stay with. And it's something that HSA had already adopted. But the limitation came from the public facing website. And I know that as far as having an umbrella consistent branding, that's why we made that change. So I hope that answers that question.
No, Luis.
Yes, go
So
ahead.
that is that considered a collection, or is that an embedded?
This is really embedded right here. So
So that's an embedded, okay. And is that something that you do, or now we can do it ourselves?
no, so basketball is on the verge of being able to do this themselves, simply because the page you would create it, and then you could, I could actually make a separate one if you want to enable an iframe that you can drop in there, and it will be in this style. So this little box, Lido, if you could see my screen, I'm trying to highlight it, but if you could see this little box, which I know you can, that whole rectangle right here, that is coming over from Sports Engine, and that is an iframe. So this information, I can't edit it from the editor. I would have to go into Sports Engine and update the say like the schedule or
So it's like creating a link, basically.
Yes, it's kind of like a window to Sports Engine from within this platform right here. So it's just an iframe.
Okay, now let me do another follow-up. If you don't mind going to basketball, and then under schedules, and then over to the right in that box that you were talking about, you will see the thing that says filters. So we have a lot of teams. We have like a lot of teams. And so, right now, for me to be able to filter, the filters are just with divisions, D and red. Now, those are obsolete. We don't use that.
Mhm.
I remember you and I creating that a while back because it was making us do that when we had the old account. How
Yes,
do we update that information now so that we can create the proper filters? Is that something that you do or something that we will do?
we can both work on that. Because I do remember that this was like the sports engine side was forcing us to do.
Yes,
But what we can do is, I think this is more like a sport specific, that we would go in there and see, because I know that we couldn't get away from having a division. Instead of
right.
just the teams in there. So what if we explore that ourselves? I know that Bonnie had just sent me the list of the sports to have on here, the teams to have on there, and I'll see if I can do it without having the divisions on there.
I'm just wondering if it'll benefit other teams as well,
Oh yeah,
creating that as a
figure that out.
collection other
Uh,
than
so
individuals.
not on there. So I think what you're asking is like, again, this is managed from the sports engine side. It's even down here, right? So technically we could create a collection, but now we're talking about replicating our data. So we have the teams in sports engine, and now we have another collection for teams and players on AWS. So we wouldn't want to do that. We want to together figure out how we can display our teams without having the divisions on there. But we would want to house this directly from Sports Engine, like modify it from there and figure out what this issue is.
Right.
Yeah.
I think to me, it just seemed more clean and beautiful the way the soccer website looked in terms of separating the teams by name and then including the
Yeah.
schedule, within that. That to me
Yes.
to just look
And-
very clean and easy. And it's already a link, so we don't have to go in there regularly to update schedules and stuff like that. It's just automatic.
Yes.
So should that be considered a collection then?
It's not a collection right now, but I do see what you're saying now, because these buttons, you see the links right here, right at the top?
Yes,
That is actually something that I added myself. And then
it's beautiful. I love it.
This box down here is actually coming from the team. So yeah, you got a really good point there, Lidio. I could explore making this a collection, and I could give you kind of like the option to say JV Boys is not going to be, for everybody, but I can give you the option within the collection to add an iframe and then the
That would
title
be great.
tab. And I think that could work.
That would
Okay.
be fantastic. That way the
Could
link is
you-
already there associated with the team. They can just pick the team that they're wanting to link in
Right,
from the
yeah, and just
sports
like
engine.
this, so all these would be the
Yeah.
same.
That'd be fantastic. Thank
Yeah,
you.
do you mind sending me a text so I could make a note of that and just make soccer teams create that a collection? Because that would
Perfect.
benefit
I'll do that right now.
everybody. Yeah, thank you. All right, I think, let me make sure there's nothing I'm missing over here. Okay, I see. Yeah, that would just address that. All right, so let's go ahead and now switch over to hands-on. And before we do this, there's one little caveat that we need to explain. Editors that are logged in at the same time, we could potentially be changing or publishing information while we're working on them. So what I would like to do is for us to I won't log in, I'll log out. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a page for yourself or edit something. And again, the collections is 95% of the things. The rich content editor is the other 4%. And then we end up with any questions that you guys may have. So right now we could log in all at the same time if you have a shared access already, or I can go ahead and create that for you now. And then we can see if you have any questions with the hands-on time. Okay, are there any questions on that?